How's it going, you guys? Today we're doing something a little bit different. We're scalloping. I usually don't get in the water, but today I'm getting in the water and I'm gonna grab some scallops. We got a full crew on the boat today, so hopefully we get into these scallops pretty good. I'm pretty excited. I haven't dove in a while. I used to spearfish, but not anymore. So let's get in the water and try to get some scallops. So right now, I'm gonna give you guys a thought process on what I was thinking underwater, how I felt, and I jumped in, and as soon as I jumped in, I saw my first scallop. So that was awesome. That was like kind of unexpected. I had to look around trying to figure it out, but I had it figured out on the first jump in. So I put this one in the bag and went up to show everybody. Put it in the bucket. Put it in the bucket. Or actually, turn on the bait tank and.
I was gonna carry around this with me, Dylan.
Oh, I am.
Look at that. But yeah, guys, I was stoked because it ended up being my first scallop. So I knew we were off to a good start at a good spot. So I put another one in and went back down. And it's really cool when you snorkel these grass flats, guys, because let me tell you something. It's beautiful. Just being underwater, seeing all the life that's down there, and finding these scallops is just something else entirely, guys. It is one of the most beautiful experiences I have done, and I used to dive all the time, and it just makes it so awesome. But basically what I'm looking for, guys, is if you saw right there how the scallop was standing up, I could see him standing up, but I could also see his little blue dots. When you see those little blue dots in between the grass, it's usually a scallop's eyeballs or sensors, whatever you want to call it, but they hang out in that very lush grass. And this first spot, guys, I don't want to show it all because I imagine it get a bit redundant, but we started whacking the scallops. They were just one by one, but they weren't the mega grade I was looking for. So it prompted me to get out of the water and get ready to move spots, because I had a feeling that we'd run across these a lot bigger and better scallops. Alright guys, so we had moved spots. I hopped into this next spot. It was still like a very lush grass field. So there was a lot of life around, but it wasn't as good as the other spot. I kind of noticed off the bat. I found some scallops, but I really had to scour because this grass field was a little bit too tall. So what I mean by this is, this was my first time ever scalloping. Is that I noticed that when the grass is that thick, it's very hard to spot them. I mean, I pretty much had my head in the dirt at this spot. But let me tell you one thing about today. That water was slick calm, so it made this a lot easier. So I kept going down, looking around. I had about 3 scallops in the span of like 10 minutes, so we moved a little bit down with the trolling motor. I went back down, looking around. But it's really interesting, guys, because this area, the grass was just so tall, for probably about like a 250-yard span. So you really had to look in this grass. But I don't doubt that there's a ton of scallops in here, but they were very hard to find. So that prompted me to want to move to another spot, which the grass was a little bit less thick, and I started plucking a few here and there. This spot ended up having us get at least 6, 7 scallops. But I really wanted to go try some deeper water because, guys, my breath holds are still pretty good. So I figured we could go to the 6 to 8 foot range and there'd be a lot of scallops. Because one of the things I noticed was all the boats were pushed in very shallow. And I figured, hey, there's got to be something a little bit better in the deeper water. So we ended up going over there, and it ended up being one of the better decisions. But once again, this spot did have a good amount of scallops. But I was looking for them big scallops because I had a feeling these things wouldn't have a lot of meat on them. And Kylie wanted to get involved, and Kylie had a lot of trouble finding the scallops in this thick grass. So I definitely had her come in when it was a bit thinner grass and there was a lot of scallops around, making it easier for her to see them because she is not the greatest swimmer in the world, I'll be honest with you guys, and she wanted it to be a little bit easier. So I wanted to make that happen so she could experience scalloping. All right, guys, Kylie's heading out to get her first scallop action.
First one.
What do you think?
I mean, I don't know. I'm excited. I don't really eat scallops, but.
Well, you're gonna see them. So basically,
you made it look easy. So.
Yeah, basically just look for the shells, dive down a little bit, and look around, and you'll probably see one.
I hope a shark isn't gonna eat me.
I don't think a shark's gonna eat you.
Big snack.
Jansen, what do you think about it?
It's awesome, dude.
What do you think?
So much fun.
Yeah.
Easier to find than you would think. It's like, anything else. Once you look hard enough and you find a couple, you kind of get an idea of what they look like. Like their eyes are bright blue, so you can see that if they're facing up at you. Otherwise, you'll see the shell. And then kind of when you stir up the grass, they'll kind of start swimming around a little bit. So makes them a little bit easier to see, but definitely a lot of fun.
Yep. And we got Celeste going out.
Yep.
Under the dive flag. We got everyone going out. See what happens. See what happens, guys.
All right, everyone. So it's my turn to hop in the water. I'm gonna be honest. It took me like an hour to find a scallop, so I had to have Dylan come down and point one out to me. So swimming around, just kind of enjoying all the wildlife. There's Dylan. He's yelling at me in the water of where the scallop was, but even then, it still took me a minute to find the scallop. Eventually, I did. And there, I don't know if you could see it, but...
All right, guys, so I'm back, ready to roll. We're diving down, but this spot has some really thick, tall grass. And let me tell you guys something. It was very hard to find a scallop in this grass. Reason one being, it was just super thick, and I could barely see anything. As you see here, I'm kind of just swatting it around, trying to see if I see anything in it. Ended up finding like a decent little scallop in here, nothing too big. Once again, this water wasn't as deep as I wanted it to be. So I popped back up. We ended up going looking around. We got in the new spot. And as soon as I jump in the water, guys, look at this scallop. Beautiful. So what we did was move spots as I went over, and we found this grass. It was shorter, more patches in it, and it ended up being a really good spot in a little bit deeper water. The scallops seemed to be kind of everywhere here, but there also were some small ones, so it prompted, once again, another move, because these small scallops aren't worth it. All right, guys, so right now we're just moving around spots. We go to an area, we get about 6, 7 scallops, and we kind of work that area. And I mean, there are probably more scallops there because they really hide in this deep grass, guys. But we're gonna continue moving and we're gonna continue bouncing around. We're gonna try some new grass where it's like more spread out, more deserty looking, like there's a bunch of sand patches, and I think that will be good. All right, guys, this new spot was like my kind of spot. The grass was broken up and it was sand patches in between. And this spot was where we just started lighting scallops up. This spot was a little bit deeper. It was about 7 feet of water. And let me tell you something. It was every time I dove down, I was able to grab a scallop. And this one kind of did the swim away action, which I ended up going after him and catching him because ain't no scallop getting away from me. But this spot was the spot I had been waiting for all day. I mean, it was on fire every time I dove down. Even sometimes in the same dive, I'd be able to get 2 scallops. But this spot, a lot of them started swimming away. As you guys saw there, that one kind of tried to get away from me, but I ended up getting them. That's the thing about these scallops, guys. Just keep your eye on them when they swim away. You'll be able to catch them. There's no stress about it, no nothing. It ain't hard to get them, especially because they're just little shellfish, like only got a couple hops in them. But yeah, so this spot ended up being the spot where I realized that it was the best kind of zone to target scallops because of how patchy and grassy it was, and there's just a ton of them around, and it made finding them a lot easier. So if like you're a beginner, this is where you want to look because those scallops are everywhere. And right here I popped it to the surface, put another scallop in because we were just making them like crazy, and I also needed air because I do have to breathe. And I was really surprised that my breath holds were still half decent, because I haven't free dived since I was a senior in high school, so it's been a long time. So I went back down, saw some more scallops, and knew I had to go grab them. But I mean, it's beautiful being down there, guys. I really like to take in that stuff because I haven't spent a lot of time under the water in a while, and let me tell you something, it was worth every second, especially when you're catching some stuff that's really good to eat. I mean, sure, these bay scallops might not have the meat of like other crustaceans, you know, like lobster and whatnot. I mean, the quantity of meat is not there, but the quality is. And if you're like new to just diving, fishing, any of that, this is a really fun activity to get your family involved in, and I highly recommend it. I mean, I brought my girlfriend, my friend Jansen brought his girlfriend. It was a perfect kind of starter activity to get everyone involved in and everyone having a good time. All right, guys, so we moved out to deeper water. We're in about 6 feet of water right now, guys. Let me tell you, it has improved drastically. We're getting on a ton of scallops, and guess what? They are just everywhere here, guys. We're plucking them one by one. It's amazing, guys. This is a super fun experience. So I grew up in Southern California. I used to dive for lobster at nighttime. This is a lot better, guys. The scallops don't really run from you. They pop a couple times, they get up there, and you can just grab them. I mean, it's a lot of fun. You don't really need gloves. I saw people were talking about having gloves and everything, but you don't really need them. Just grab them from the behind. They're not gonna get away from you. It's awesome. All right, guys, final spot of the day. I'm diving down. It's some beautiful patchy grass, which a ton of scallops. This was the final spot as I went over earlier, and it had all the scallops I could have ever dreamed of, and we made majority of our scallops here because, guys, scallops don't have a lot of meat. They're not like lobster. They're not like, I don't know how to describe them, but these bay scallops really don't have that much meat. So you really want to get as many as possible. That's why the limits are so high. And we were diving down. I was grabbing them. Kylie was getting ready to get in the water because it was time to get the action on for her. She hadn't really got that many scallops in the day. So I was coming for air, and Kylie hopped in the water, and I was about to go point out a scallop to her after I grabbed this one right here. So here she is.
Yeah, up until this point, I still only caught one scallop. So Dylan said that this spot had it all, so I just had to get in there. So there, Dylan's pointing out that scallop to me, and I did get it. And after that, I was honestly tired. So when I went scalloping, I needed Dylan to help me out because it was very hard to see, but it was super fun. I only caught like 2, but I think I just enjoyed like being down there. The starfish, you found that, but that was cool. I don't know, it was fun.
All right, guys, so here's what I noticed. So when we went out deep, these are the scallops we found, just chunky, big ones. When we were in shallow, this was the average grade. So I came to find out that the deeper you went, the bigger the scallop. I mean, sometimes they were more few and far between, but these are the scallops I'm after right here, these big, old, ugly ones. Look at that. Beautiful one. But yeah, we got a bunch of big ones and a few small ones. Bunch of big ones and a few small ones because we went out deep. Going out deep, guys, in that 6 to 8 foot range was the best decision I could have made. I mean, they were everywhere. Kylie was getting them. Jansen got a bunch. It was awesome, guys. I mean, working that deep water really paid off. Everyone is in shallow, guys. We were the only boat that came out here, and we were getting all the scallops. So it's what you gotta do.
All right, guys. So quick tutorial on how to shuck, shuck one of these things. I mean, it's like anything else. There's a million ways to do it. You can use a spoon, butter knife. I just have one of these little shucking knives. It's dull on both sides. So it's open. When you pop it on ice, they just kind of open up a little bit. And then you just kind of run it all along the inside, up along the top when it's partially open. You pop it open like this, one shell off. And then what I like to do is just kind of come in here, scrape along the bottom. So you get everything out. All the other stuff's gonna come with it. And then this just kind of peels off a little bit. So you start to kind of peel it back. You work your way down, and then eventually, the part you eat just pops right off just like that. Now, of course, we're gonna give these a good wash before we eat them, but it takes about 15 seconds-ish to clean each one. So not too bad. So when you get a whole lot of them, you can fly through them pretty quick. Once you do a few, you get the hang of it. And now you know how to shuck a scallop.
All right, guys, Jansen is gonna cook these bad boy scallops up. We got a lot of scallops from today. Made some big ones, made some small ones, but it's all gonna go down right now. And Jansen's gonna break down everything we're doing because he's quite the cook. I am no cook, guys. Kylie cooks for me. Kylie cooks for me 90% of the time. So Jansen's gonna take over from here.
All right, so as you can see here, they're all a little bit different shapes, all a little bit different sizes. Of course, typical scallops are gonna look like this. They're gonna be mostly flat, so you can pan sear both sides evenly. As you can see with our base scallops, it's not quite possible. They're a little bit too tall. However, we're still gonna get a good sear on one side, still gonna get a good sear on the other side, and they're still gonna taste the exact same at the end of the day. So with that being said, let's toss them in the pan and see what happens. Alrighty, so I'll show you an example what you want this pan to look like. You want it to have some oil in there. This might be a little much for some people. Some people like to do it in butter. I prefer to do a little bit more oil, finish with butter at the end, simply because I like to taste the actual scallop itself. I don't want to taste all butter, but that's all personal preference. You guys do it how you like it. So I'm going to show you what it's going to look like. Non-stick skillet, of course. So you put it down. You want it to sizzle. You want it to pop a little bit, but if it looks like it's bubbling over, that's too hot. So we're going to plop a few of these big ones down that we got here. And they're going to be popping and sizzling. Don't let it scare you. It's just part of the process. Pop a few of these guys in there. We'll get the big ones placed. some oil over there. If you got a non-stick pan, oil doesn't always sit where you want it. So put it where you want it. Now, last one of these. Now with the rest of these, honestly, a lot of this would be great for ceviche, or if you're making a soup, or if you're making a pasta sort of sauce. Add this in, stir fry them up. Kind of what we're gonna do, but we're not doing it in a sauce, we're just doing it regular, simple flavors, salt, pepper, butter, maybe a tad bit of garlic, and then we're just gonna eat them as is. But perfect for a sauce, for a soup, or anything else. I'm gonna take these and kind of toss them in. Make sure you're standing away. The biggest thing, like anything else, even distribution across the heat. Pan's hot, but if you don't touch the pan, it's not going to burn you. So, even distribution all the way across. Let it sit for probably a minute, maybe a minute and a half at most, depending on heat level. But with these, with the heat level we got going on, they're sizzling pretty good. I would say about a minute and a half. And at that point, then flip them over and then finish them off with a little bit of butter, and they'll be perfect. So stay tuned for that. We'll see you in a minute. All right, so we got some coarse sea salt here in the grinder. Do a little bit over top. Don't want to do too much. These did come out of the ocean. The ocean's a little salty.
A little bit.
Of course. A little bit of salt. A little bit of black pepper. Not a whole lot. These things have a very mild, light taste, so it's very easy to hide that. If you like that, perfect. If not, just do a little bit. Give it a little dusting. A little kiss of the seasoning versus going all the way. A little bit of garlic powder over top as well. We'll let those sit for, probably a minute, minute and a half. And then whenever they look good and, golden brown right along the edges, starting to get a little bit of opaqueness versus being translucent, then you know they're ready to flip. So we'll show you what that looks like.
Ready.
All right, so they've been going for about a minute on this side. You can see when you look down to the edge, getting a little bit of golden brownness all along the edge, and you can kind of see some of the seasoning around there is also starting to get a little bit browned. And then when you look at the top, they're not nearly as translucent. They're starting to get a little bit more opaqueness. Some of the smaller ones, of course, more than the big ones, but you're going to have that when you have mixed sizes of things. It's just part of it. So that's why you cook to have a little bit on the more rare side, some on the more medium side. It's part of it. So what we're going to go ahead and do is going to go ahead and flip these guys over. And get that nice golden brown touch. Not all of these are going to be top side perfect, guys. That's just part of it when you're going after bay scallops. You're not going to get the perfect big ones that you see coming out of the Pacific or the Atlantic. So you just make do with what you got, right? So you can see, as we're flipping these, good bit of color. Nothing crazy. Like I said, we like them a little bit more on the less done side. But hey, if you want them to be a little bit hard, crunchy on the outside, a little bit of a seared texture on the outside, that's your prerogative. So what we do to finish them off as well, take a tablespoon of butter, let that slide in, let that melt. We're going to flip all the other ones, let them finish off for maybe 30, 45 seconds on the other side, and at that point, let them rest for 2 to 3 minutes, and you're good to go. We'll show you what it looks like here in a second.
Alright guys, as you guys know, I am no cook. Kylie cooks 90% of the meals. And when I cook, it's not very good. And that's why we have Jansen right here who's cutting up picanha right now.
Oh,
and
yeah.
making a full-blown meal, guys. So I'm going to taste test the scallops to make sure they're alright. Perfect, guys. So, if you're new here, don't forget to like and subscribe. If you want to go catch scallops, let's go. I run charters, so we can go catch them. Let me tell you guys, those are amazing. And we're going to have amazing picanha right here. So I'll see you guys next week on the water. Peace.